Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us during the Lytham Partners Winter 2021 Investor Conference. My name is Adam Lowensteiner, Vice President of Lytham Partners. During the Fireside chat, we welcome VolitionRx, ticker symbol VNRX. That's Victor, Nancy, Robert, X-Ray on the New York Stock Exchange American, and their CEO, Cameron Reynolds, and CFO, Scott Powell. Before we begin, for those not familiar, Lytham Partners is one of the country's leading investor relations firms. With more than 2 decades of corporate access experience, we have built one of the industry's most diverse and effective platforms for connecting small cap companies with high quality and focused institutional investors while creating a framework of best practices in all aspects of investor relations. Today's Fireside chat is hopefully yet another example where we can bring value to multiple constituents. We will dive into questions in a moment, but one final item, I want to remind everyone that VolitionRx is available for one-on-one meetings later this week. If you have not already signed up, please send me an email at lowensteiner@lythampartners.com or visit www.lythampartners.com/virtual and click the one-on-one meeting request button. With that said, let's begin. So Cameron and Scott, let's start with you providing a brief overview of the company and your backgrounds.
Well, I'll start, I guess, with the company. So Volition's been around about 11 years now. We were founded on the vision that epigenetics, which means above genetics or above the DNA, which is the complicated switching mechanisms which decide what cells in your body are reproduced, are going to be an incredibly important part of medicine, science, and a big part of the solutions in diagnostics. And in that time, we built a company now, a small multinational, but a multinational nonetheless, with our main facilities in Belgium. We went there early on because we're doing something quite new and quite different. We wanted to go somewhere that was as low a cost as possible. Belgium's been a great place to really develop this fantastic platform, which we're now commercializing in a way which was very, very cost effective. We've been listed on the New York Stock Exchange now for 6 years, which has been fantastic. Obviously, the US is a very important market, and we really wanted to have a strong presence as we roll out our platform worldwide. Now the platform's developed, we are rolling out products in a range of areas, which I'm sure I'll get to later. And we've put together a fantastic team worldwide now, and also an absolutely outstanding portfolio of intellectual property. And I think it's very, very safe to say that now we've done this. I think our vision of how important epigenetics could be was actually probably underestimating the amazing potential of what we do. And now we have a very stable platform which can measure these circulating nucleosomes and the epigenetic structures. We're now launching products in a wide range of areas, and I think it's going to be a very, very exciting time for us. My background, I'm a business side, so I've got a Bachelor of Commerce and an MBA. I'm now just over 50 years old. I've been working on a range of startups since university. So I've got a huge amount of experience in the space. And yeah, I've been at Volition since I was in my late 30s. So it's been a long process to really get this platform right. Scott?
Yes, thanks, Adam. Good morning, and great to be here again at the Lytham conference. Thanks for having VolitionRx. As Cameron mentioned, we're really excited in terms of our potential products and technologies. We're working in blood, which is a preferred modality in terms of bodily fluids. A lot of advantages to working in a blood-based modality. We recently launched our first commercial test, a blood test to screen for 2 common cancers in canines, and we're working quite a bit on the human oncology side, as well as working in some non-oncology based disease states for the first time, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later. So very excited as we really push through these products, and really excited about our technological platform. My background is over 20 years of experience on Wall Street. Like Cameron, more of a finance versus a science background, but have a couple decades of experience in the equity markets as an equity trader, as investment banker, and investor relations and finance professional. Also been involved with Volition since I met Cameron in about 2010, and been involved with the company in a variety of forms, starting in 2011 all the way through 2021. So we're really excited to tell the story today. Thank you for having us.
So 2021 really flew by. I can't believe we're in December already. And it was an interesting year with the release of the vaccine for COVID. What are some of the key accomplishments VolitionRx achieved in 2021 that investors should be aware of?
Yeah, Adam, that's an interesting question. Again, I guess I'll answer first and see if Scott has anything to contribute. So it's interesting. So we went into the pandemic, the lockdowns, obviously last year, and we stopped and really took full stock of where we were and what we can do. And obviously during the pandemic, it's been tough to collect in the marquee cancer trials. Obvious reasons for the blood cancer, the colorectal cancer, all these other things. It's tough to get people to come in during the pandemic and when they're locked down. So we pivoted using our fantastic platform for a couple of things. Most notably in the vet market, we'd already started with Texas A&M, one of the world's best vet schools, and launched our first product late last year. But we're also using our platform to measure for NETosis, which is what kills you in COVID. But not just COVID, it's not a test for COVID, it's a test for what kills you in COVID, which is actually your body's overimmune response, which happens to be made up of chromatin, which is what we measure. So it actually fitted into our platform incredibly well. So what we decided to do last year and really made it happen this year is keep the human cancers going as well as we could. Some of the blood cancers, some of the work in Asia still went forward very well, but we pivoted onto the vet and the NETosis side, both of which are absolutely massive markets, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. And also in the meantime, we built up our team, we've raised a lot of money, and we managed to keep everything very much on track and very much moving forward during all the strange years we've had this year and last year. So I couldn't be happier or prouder of the team. I think they've done an amazing job in very difficult circumstances to finish off the development of the platform for our first products, launch our first products, but also keep it going in the human cancer space as well. And we've also bought the production facility in this last 12 months, Silver One, next to our main facility in Belgium. And we're just in the process of opening a research facility in Southern California. And we managed to do all that on a very tight budget. Actually, you probably noticed this last quarter, we actually spent a little less than we were expecting to spend, which is quite remarkable given all the amount of work we've done. And the final thing I think has been very interesting this last year, we've added a lot to our intellectual property base. The new uses, including the NETosis side, and some advances in nuclear capture and other things, we've managed to really add a new wave of intellectual property to our already large portfolio. So all in all, I think it's been a fantastic year, and I think it's one the team can be really proud of. Scott?
Yeah, thanks, Cameron. I think you covered most of the bases for 2021, but I'd like to just reiterate that we're really proud of our team's ability to pivot during the COVID pandemic and focus on some of the commercial trials and our product launch that sort of allowed us to navigate through the COVID pandemic. For instance, we were able to, because our blood test for canines is a single assay test, and because canines really weren't prohibited from going into hospitals and labs for routine blood work, where many humans were not really going into the lab during COVID for routine blood work and were really going in for emergencies only. We were able to push forward, for instance, the veterinarian product because of that, because the animals really weren't prohibited from going into the lab at Texas A&M. So kudos to the team, our team and the Texas A&M team to pivot and be able to move clinical studies and a product forward in a very difficult period. And now we're really excited about the opportunities in front of us, particularly on the vet side. And I'm sure Cameron will talk about that a bit later.
Talking about pets, that's my next question. Humanization of pets has become a reality more than just a trend. More dollars continue to be dedicated towards pets as they move from the doghouse to the bedroom. With that said, VolitionRx has a new cancer screening test that is just hitting the market. What's the opportunity here?
Yes, Adam, actually, absolutely. So the amount we're spending on our pets has gone up massively in the last few years, and it's a huge mega trend, I think, happening. And it's very lucky. The same platform we've used for human detection is absolutely working as well in dogs. And it's a huge new market. So exactly the same platform we're just reusing in a repurposing in an absolutely potentially huge market. So how big is the vet market? People think, is it a niche market? It really, really is not. So there are about 80 million dogs, 80, in the US. And actually, many times more dogs are diagnosed with cancer every year in the US than humans. How can that be when there's less dogs? Dogs get cancer a lot younger. Humans tend to be more 70. Dogs tend to be more 7 or 8. So obviously you get more generations of dogs in that time. And also there's a lot of interbreeding in dogs, which causes a range of diseases, including cancer. So actually cancer is the most common cause of death in dogs over 2 years old as well. So it's a real tragedy. And at the moment, there's absolutely nothing out there which can be anything like what we do, nothing routine, nothing low cost. So all the benefits we have in the human space can be really used in the vet space, and that can be launched much quicker, much easier, much cheaper with great partners. As we've talked about before, we're in very serious discussions, very close discussions now with big vet companies to launch our products worldwide. So the figures I gave you were just for the US market. So of the ages we're looking to screen for, there's about 20 million dogs in the US and a lot more than that overseas, of course. So once we expect to be doing a deal with one of the large vet companies in the short term, or several of them, and maybe even a range of smaller companies as well. So keep an eye out for that. But the same thing we're doing in the human space, keeping the test very low cost. The beta launch of the product has happened, and we're looking to bring down the price quite a lot with the major companies, aiming it to get into the owner's hands for in the $60 to $70 range, which makes it a very affordable test for a lot of pet owners. And given that, we think it's the market size in number of tests per year is certainly in the millions, and hopefully in the worldwide, getting to many, many millions of tests per year. And that's also on a lot of platforms. It's on a microtiter plate, which we've launched. We're also adapting it now, which will be in the short term, on magnetic beads, which means it can be run in a large machine in a centralized lab, and also on a point of care, like a snap test or almost like a pregnancy test, sort of a drop of blood. So huge potential market. And don't forget, this is just the first product. There's a lot of other animals. Exactly the same platform should work just as well as they do in humans and dogs. And we're also looking at things like monitoring and other cancers, which we also aim to expect to start launching this coming year as well. So absolutely massive opportunity. We have a very special product. We're having some great negotiations, which I think are nearing a close with the big vet companies. And I think a great product with a very big market in the hands of very large sales forces worldwide should be a massive success for our first product and a range of other products in the vet space coming behind it. So very exciting times. Scott, did I forget anything?
Thanks, Cameron. You did a great job encapsulating the veterinary story. I would just like to reiterate to the audience the disruptive nature of our product for screening for cancer in canines. As Cameron mentioned, there are nearly 80 million canines in the US alone, with about 6 million of those canines annually being diagnosed with one form of cancer or another. Now, the problem that veterinarians have and pet owners have currently is that the vast majority of these 6 million canines are being diagnosed with cancer because they're symptomatic. Right? And so that's a problem, because just like on the human side, when a human is symptomatic and the diagnosis is that, unfortunately, Scott, your symptoms are coming from X cancer or Y cancer, it's invariably a later stage cancer. And it's the same with canines. So right now, the vets do not really have a simple, easy to use tool to screen for canines on the asymptomatic side of the equation before they're symptomatic. And as Cameron mentioned, canines upon turning age 7 are much more predisposed to developing cancer than under age 7. So we're really excited about the opportunity to position our blood test for canines on the asymptomatic side of the equation. And then if the canine is flagged with a positive result from our test, there can be additional diagnostic testing done to then confirm whether or not it is indeed cancer, what type of cancer, and what stage. And then treatments or therapies can begin, and they'll be much more effective in all likelihood, and they'll do a much better job in terms of extending the life of the canine, because the vets will be catching these canine cancers at a much earlier stage while the canine is still asymptomatic. So this is a truly disruptive product that we're very excited about, that has a tremendous amount of benefit and utility, both to veterinarians, canine owners, and canines, obviously.
I mean, based upon your answers to that question, I would assume also, you mentioned, Cameron and Scott, like the other mammals or other animals that might be useful on this platform. I mean, what about like race horses? And there's certain probably niche or specific industries where they really, in addition to dogs and cats and such, but how difficult would that be to transition or tap into those markets?
To transition, so basically the nucleosomes and the epigenetic structures are common throughout a huge number of living things. So certainly mammals, even as things as varied as a yeast. So there's a very strong possibility. We've actually thought through racehorses, other animals, agricultural uses, of course, quite valuable animals, and not just for cancer. A lot of horses come with inflammation from very hard work or the exertion, and cats, pretty much any animal that you can think of, there's a possibility for. It comes down to the trial, what markers to look for, that kind of thing. But there's an excellent chance, and our intellectual property covers all of that. So our intellectual property, because we're doing something very different, just to reiterate, what we do is very, very unique, looking for these nucleosomes in circulation. But the method of detection has been around for decades. ELISA, which is the basic form for any lab detection. So we can launch things quickly and easily in a range of platforms, in a range of animals, in a range of areas, quite easily. The work with all these animals, Adam, I think would really just be the trials and identifying the question, working through if the current assays can do the job, or you'd have to develop a new assay. But that's Silver One and the research facility in Belgium. We can actually develop assays relatively quickly now. So there's a very strong scope beyond the humans space and beyond the current test for a wide range of other tests. And we'll certainly be looking at that as we roll out more tests. We'll keep looking at new ones to refill the pipeline.
Okay, Scott hit upon this just before, but can you walk us through the value proposition? I think this would be helpful for investors of having testing capabilities for cancer. How would that help patients live more fuller lives?
So cancer is actually often quite a treatable disease. So if you take colorectal, something we all know a lot about, we probably all know someone who suffered from it. If discovered late, it's really quite tragic. Your chance of surviving more than 5 years is quite slim, sometimes as little as 5 or 10%. If you discovered early, on the other hand, it's a much brighter outlook, a much brighter prognosis. If you find it really early, you can be over 90% chance of living 5 years or a lot more than 5 years is what they talk about. So early detection is absolutely key. And often if it's found before it's metastasized, you can just have a resection and you're probably going to be fine and probably live a long and fruitful life long after. So early detection is obviously the key. And a blood test is absolutely the best way of doing that, because it's particularly something like our products, which can be routine, meaning it's just a drop of blood. You go into the doctor and it's not a separate blood draw. It's just a couple of drops of blood from your normal blood draw, which goes into the central lab. The doctor just ticks an extra box, which no skin off anyone's nose. Whole aim is to keep it very low cost. It doesn't cost us much at all to make it because it's on a very stable existing platform. And the key components are just antibodies and the controls. We manufacture them ourselves now. So again, keep the cost very low, make sure a large amount of people worldwide are tested, find the cancer early, you can have it resected. Now, that's not the case in every cancer. Some cancers, even if discovered early, can be still problematic. So we're targeting the ones, particularly early stage, which are very common, and have a much, much better outlook if you're found early. And all of those things, I think, make this a very, very exciting platform. I think we can save a lot of lives. And we're probably the only group really looking for a very cost-effective platform. The ELISA really is the simplest and cheapest way compared to a lot of the more complicated. If you look at sequencing and PCRs, it's not going to be low cost in the same way. So all those things are very exciting to make it, I think.
Can you explain the sophistication of the technology to deliver the testing platform you have and that you're creating?
Actually, yeah. So as I said, it's interesting. So the actual markers themselves, completely groundbreaking, revolutionary. The epigenetics are incredibly interesting and really novel and unique. That's why we have such a great intellectual property portfolio. But the method we're using to detect them is an old, very standard system, which makes it low cost and easy to use. How can we do that when others cannot? We can do that because the markers are very, very common in the blood. The nucleosomes, there's millions and millions in every cell. And when the cells die, the body cuts up the chromatin into nucleosome-sized chunks to be reprocessed. So the target we're after, there's huge numbers in the blood, unlike some very rare markers which people are trying to commercialize. So all of that makes it a very cost-effective platform, very cutting edge in what we're looking for, but very old, a very existing technology to measure it, which makes it the best of both worlds.
What else needs to be accomplished for your first product on humans to be approved? Which cancer will that be focused on and why?
So we're doing a few different things around the world, and which comes first, we'll find out. But we're working on colorectal, but that takes time in the US, as you know. So we're working with a large company in China. So we're hoping to get some good news on that in the next few months, where we can hopefully launch the product there first. On the human cancer side, the one we've made the most progress in the US is in the blood cancers. So we're looking to do a 510K. So that'll be at least, so by the end of 23, we should have that ready for market in the US. But I think perhaps the first product in humans in the US is probably our NETosis product, which again is the body's overimmune response, which is NETosis is fantastic for you unless there's too much of it. And that's exactly what kills you in COVID, when it builds up in your lungs or other organs and causes all the known problems like SARS. We're going to outline that process and hopefully have a CE mark for it in Europe by the middle of next year. I think we're on target to do that. So it'll be launched in Europe next year, then roughly 12 months later in the US. So again, by the end of 2023 for a NETosis product. So, and as I said, we've already launched the vet products in the US, but in human space, those are the cancers: colorectal, perhaps outside the US, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in the US, and of course, NETosis in Europe and the US. So all of them are progressing very well.
So let's look way into the future a little bit. I mean, you just gave some good near-term catalysts to look forward to. Looking down the field a little bit, maybe 3 to 5 years from now, what other testing capabilities and technologies are the company working on that investors should be aware of?
So apart from and again, we can do all these things because it's exactly the same platform for all of it. Apart from the human cancers, the vet side and NETosis, we're also working on an enabling technology we call Nucleocapture, which allows you to capture nucleosomes and epigenetic structures to analyze them either by sequencing or mass spectrometry. So that work we've done a lot of, and we're really souping up our laboratory in Southern California to really drive that research. So we'd expect to have some strong data on that this coming year as well in 2022. And that's potentially a very big, very good product line as well, which we would think would become an enabling technology for a wide range of liquid biopsies and potentially use our platform for an even more accurate than the test we have using the methods we're looking at. So everyone also can really look forward to Nucleocapture next year as well, and we'll see on the key aspects of that. But so far, it's been very, very exciting. I think it could be absolutely fantastic for us as well.
So this is a little bit towards a concluding kind of question, but circling back to something a little bit earlier. What, if any, levers did you pull in 2021 that as a result will have some sort of impact in 2022 and beyond that investors should be on the lookout for?
I think on the vet space, we're pulling levers on new cancers, on new products, in things like monitoring in the vet space. So, and also on large vet deals. So that's all something we should be finishing off this year, and we expect some more next year as well. So a lot of activity on the vet space. We'll pull the lever on the CE marking of NETosis in Europe, which is a very big deal. And the claim we're going for, what the product will do, is looking for inflammation from pretty much anything NETosis based. So that should be a very, very big thing happening next year. And as I just said, Nucleocapture, I think we've pulled a lot of work this year, which will have a lot of effect next year. And I don't know if it's pulling a new lever, but certainly getting back to our old marquee cancer trials. I think that's a lot of that work should be available next year, unless the pandemic just keeps on going. But if things do clear up a little bit, I'd expect a lot more work back on our original projects as well. Scott, have I forgotten anything?
I think that's pretty comprehensive. I think it's just important to note some of our advantages and the fact that these various clinical trials in NETosis and human health and animal health as it relates to oncology, it's all based off of the same nucleosomics platform. So it's sort of the same alphabet that's feeding words as we move forward in our clinical studies. We're really excited about this. As Cameron mentioned, we have significant patent protection. I'm not sure if investors appreciate the amount of patent protection that we have. It's both pending and granted. And I think also just the fact that we're working in blood, it's a very advantageous modality in which to screen for cancer. Most of the screens out there to screen for various cancer types are expensive, invasive, can be harmful to patients. A blood-based modality has a number of advantages, from the fact that you can't harm a patient by simply taking a blood sample. Our test is inexpensive. It's convenient, as most of us give blood for various blood testing procedures, whether it's for life insurance or an annual health checkup. So there's just a lot of advantages to our modality by working in blood. I think our strong intellectual property portfolio will bear out tremendous amount of value over time. And just the fact that all of these clinical studies and products are based off of the same underlying robust technology.
Great. Anything else that either of you want to say before we end the discussion that we haven't covered?
I know, I guess just to wrap up, it's going to be a very exciting year. I couldn't be happy with the vet space. We've got new products to launch. The first product's going very, very well. And I think we'll have deals very soon, deals very soon. And I think we're going to try to get full worldwide coverage and on different modalities, the different things like point of care, as well as the lab work. So that's great. I think NETosis has come during the pandemic to the fore. And I think we can do a huge amount of help and use our fantastic platform extremely widely. The claim we're going for is like CRP claim. If through inflammation, it's about 85 million of those sold a year, or more. So potentially a huge market. You layer back in our cancer trials on the human side, as well as nuclear capture. And we've got a very full book of opportunities. And we're all set up now. The platform's stable, robust. We've got a great team, great intellectual property. We're a listed company. I think it's going to be a really exciting year, and I just couldn't be happy with where we are, the team we've put together, and the really good next couple of quarters we have to go through. Scott?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think our vision is one where I think by doing what we're doing and executing on our business plan, I think we can generate a good return for our investors. But at the same time, I think we can do a tremendous amount of good for animal health and human health, because we're working in a modality that's very convenient, and using our blood tests to screen for NETosis, for cancers in humans, cancers in canines, will get a lot of these animals and humans screened at an earlier stage than they normally would have been screened for these various disease states. We'll be able to catch these cancers earlier and at an earlier stage while they're more treatable and while treatment options are much more effective, thereby reducing morbidity rates and reducing mortality rates for both humans and animals. So couldn't be more excited about 2022 and beyond. And hopefully all of the investors listening today will continue to follow our progress and story into 2022 and beyond.
Cameron and Scott, thank you very much for your time today. We greatly appreciate it. To anyone out there that has not already signed up for a one-on-one, again, please send me an email at lowensteiner@lythampartners.com. Or again, visit www.lythampartners.com/virtual and click the one-on-one meeting request button. We hope you all enjoy the conference. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.